Greetings, collective. Greetings, and peace to the ancestors. Peace, peace, peace to the ancestors. Hope everyone is doing well. All right. So, in part one of this video, we talked about the inner healing tools, but we also talked about how right now what we're going through is that collective ascension. But before we ascended, how did we start ascending, right? We had to use certain tools, certain modalities to get us there. And so when the veil started to drop and now we're left with the new, now we're left with the unknown, what's going to help us travel through this unknown? What's going to help us build a new system centered around love, build a new life that is centered around love, centered around rootedness, right? Is using those same foundational practices. Not, in my experience, I have this pattern, right, where something works, and then for some reason I want to run in the opposite direction of what just worked. And so we can't do that. We have to understand that there are reasons why these tools have downloaded from the ether, and that's what we're going to be talking about. All right, so this is part two. If you haven't gone tapped in with part one, sit on this one, right, mingle with this one right here, and then go watch part one. It's not like a synchronicity order or anything like that, but I didn't want to just load y'all up with a whole bunch of practice. I wanted to break it down a little bit. So in this live, what we're going to be talking about is interconnection and mindful practices, right? So what I mean by interconnection is how we began to heal in the first place is traveling to the roots of things. And so on a more surface level, we can travel to the roots of our inner child traumas, right? But then on a cosmic level, right, we travel to the roots of our ancestral trauma. And I was watching a 19 Keys video, right? And it was talking about how there's a difference between living in trauma and living in overcoming trauma. And so why I bring this up is because I mentioned this in a previous live. Like, whatever is happening on a micro level, it's going to be happening on a macro level for the collective. So as we choose to connect with our inner child, connect with our ancestors, what is happening is this connection is allowing for us to see what has limited us, what we may be holding on to that is keeping us from taking that step into the unknown, taking that step into the new us, right? And so on a micro level, we're seeing that evolve, right? And we're seeing us relinquish those through the mindful practices that we're going to mention, right? We're seeing those things relinquish. And what's happening when we're relinquishing those blockages and those confinements that we may have put on that little one inside of us is now we create an interconnection. And why it is important for this interconnection, we're going to speak to the inner child, why it's important, and to our ancestors, right? Why it's important for this collective ascension is because that inner child in us, when we came in straight from the ether, right? Straight from the ether, manifested into this physical experience through our mommy and daddy having a little fun, you know what I mean, right? When we came from that ether, that's pure connection. There's no confinement. We didn't know the confinements of this world. We didn't know right or wrong. We didn't know left or right, up or down, Democratic, Republican. We didn't know all those things, right? All those things have been systematically programmed into us, right? That kept that inner child locked up in the logical side of the mind and thinking, oh, I gotta be in this system, I can't create, right? And so when we go in and we use these mindful practices, right, we're now freeing our inner child. And why it is so important is because that inner child knows pure freedom, knows pure joy. And so when we begin to live with that inner connection of that pure inner child freedom, what is happening is that light is just, it just radiates. It radiates and we become a beacon of light for the rest of the collective. And so that's why, uh, you know, the interconnection is important. The interconnection is what's going to help us be that beacon of light, whether it's in our city, whether it's in a cave, whether it's online, wherever it is. By embracing that inner child, by freeing that inner child, it creates that aligned freedom, that aligned light within. And I spoke to this on one of my videos, talking about like how the inner child is connected to the subconscious mind. You see, when we go to free the inner child, we also have to understand that we are no longer that child, but we can embrace the freedom that we once know without holding on to the childlike tendencies. And what I mean by that is throwing temper tantrums, complaining because things aren't going our way, right? Uh, for me right now, and this brings to the point why I'm drinking this wormwood, is the eating habits, right? Like having discipline, having structure. That was one of the first tools I talked about, and the importance of having structure, right? Little herbalism fact: wormwood is good for releasing any parasites or anything you got going on. To my point, I have been feeling my inner child desires, eating all the food I can think of. No meat, still discipline, right? But like eating all the food I have been desiring of. But I won't go on that rant. And this is what I mean. So it's like when we go back in there, is realizing how maybe those tendencies are limiting us, right? And then choosing to embody the fact that we are growing in this physical. And I have this saying, it's, I honor the boy within, realigning with the man that is growing. So it's now that we become the parent, and we use the inner child joy, the inner freedom, to help guide us to how to live a more free life. And so on a micro level, this is happening in our experience. But on a macro level, by us shining that light, right, from that micro level, it adds to the collective light, and it begins to help the collective ascend. So that's the importance of the interconnection with the inner child. But now the importance of the interconnection with the ancestors is deep, and it's purposeful, because without a foundation, when you don't know where you come from, you don't know where to go. And what I mean by this is, we have to truly understand self. We have to understand who came before this physical embodiment. Who am I walking with right now? Because our ancestors are in our very DNA. They walk with us in all planes of existence, right? So by diving deep and understanding your lineage, you begin to get rooted in where you come from, and your culture and your knowledge, right? Why are you drawn to certain things? Why do you like herbalism so much? Right? I'm speaking to this reflection, but for my people who like herbalism, right? I was channeling right there, you know what I mean? But why you like certain things so much, right? Why you are drawn to certain metaphysical practices, it's because it's in your lineage. And so when you can begin to tap in and understand where your people came from, the things they went through, you can kind of begin to see it manifest in your reality, how that energy is still lingering on. But what it gives you a chance to do is begin to understand how you can alchemize that, how you can turn what your ancestors went through, what they may still have been holding on to, and act as that physical alchemization to let that go. And what that does is it now creates that interconnection with your roots. And why that is important is because when you see your past, when you understand your past, you can understand how to create a better future, right? And collectively, as we all begin to connect with our roots, it allows us to get rooted in this metaphysical. It allows us, right, when we're trying to rebuild anything, right, as we're trying to continuously bring this new world into existence, it needs a foundation, right? When we're trying to build anything, it needs a foundation. So by connecting with your roots, you become that physical foundation. You become that physical alchemization of your ancestral traumas, right? And so we're no longer living in our trauma anymore. We're no longer uh, playing that victimization anymore, man. We're letting that go and understanding we have came here with a purpose, and we have the tools, the knowledge in our very DNA, in our very cosmic heart, that cosmic ether within us to be that alchemization. And so it starts by walking in that interconnection, right? Walking in that interconnection with the love of the freedom of the inner child, but being rooted in our ancestral culture, being rooted in our ancestral metaphysical practices that help us stay grounded, that help us create alignment in the ways we wish to bring the light to the collective. Right, so that's the first tool, which is interconnection with both your inner child and your ancestors. And then the second way is, how do we get there, right? Like, Mark, you spend all this game, you spend all this knowledge, like, my nigga, I'm trying to get there, right? And for me, that's mindful practices. Like, if you look at like over the 600 videos we have on this channel, it is all centered about understanding self. Because what I'm learning in my experience right now, as I dive deeper into cosmic knowledge, we can understand this knowledge, but if you don't have an understanding of self, it has no home to go to. What I mean by this is, in my journey, I could have easily got caught up in astrology. I could have, and when I say that, I'm not like demeaning astrology, because I'm actually like learning astrology right now. Like, I'm walking my toes, and I'm dipping the toes in the water right now. But I could have went down the path of astrology, and I'm not saying any path is quote unquote wrong path. Any path that we go is unique to our journey and is purposeful. But what I'm saying is, the knowledge of self, right? Understanding where we came from, what's holding us back, the mental confinements, how to release them, all those things. That is what creates the foundation for us to truly understand our interconnectedness to it all. And whether it's astrology, numerology, Vedic science, whatever the modality may be, if you don't have that knowledge of self, it's kind of like it goes over your head in a sense, right? And so that's why I feel it's very important to have that interconnection, and that interconnection comes through mindful practices, right? And so and coming full circle, this channel is all like purely centered around understanding self. And so if you look at any of the videos we've talked about, it's all centered around understanding self. I know I keep repeating myself. I was about to spit a rhyme, but I'm not. But mindful practices, okay? Part of me just wants to stop the live right here and be like, yo, go check out all the videos that we have on the YouTube channel. I can't even lie to you guys, because like, we've talked about every single mindful practice that we can think of here on this channel, man. We've talked about yoga. We've done yoga. We've talked about meditation. We've done guided meditations. We've talked about journaling. We've done journal reflections. What's it called? Yeah, we've done journal reflections where we read from my old journal, which stay tuned for that. I want to get back to that low key. We talked about shadow work, which I feel the shadow and the inner child are very interconnected, because I feel it's in that inner child where we build a lot of our walls up that act, there to protect us. Meditation, I just said meditation, but like really getting in tune with meditation, one thing that has really arisen to my awareness and I want to really start getting disciplined with is using mudras, right? Like we have the ability to heal ourselves when we begin to use our energy to draw it within ourselves. And so these different finger points act as like energetic pressure points that create like a stream within our body that is connected to the elements, right? That help us heal within us, right? And you see, that's what I mean. It's like this understanding of self allows us to see our interconnectedness with everything, nature, the elements, right? How we see it boils down all the way to this physical embodiment, and how we can begin to use this science, use this metaphysical science to help heal ourselves, right? And so the mindful practices, whatever they may be, whatever you use to start tapping your energy inward, whether it's speaking to yourself, reading a book is a mindful practice, right? Reading a book on like the Four Agreements, or the Uses Guide to the Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm about to put it in the chat, because those are the books that I started out with. I'm about to put the books that I read that I read in the beginning of my journey. The Alchemist, the Four Agreements. I truthfully never got to the Fifth Agreement, because the Fourth Agreement was so powerful, it just left me in awe. And then so those are some of the books I started off with in the beginning of my journey. But it's from, hold up, I don't think it went through. There we go, boom. So it's from those mindful practices, right, that we can begin to understand self, right? Travel to the depths of our inner child, travel to the depths of that part of self, right? Because we stem so beyond just our inner child, right? We are living embodiments of our ancestors. So we have that cosmic in it. Then we have our cosmic ancestors, right? I'm gonna hold back on mentioning what I mean by that for right now. But we are a cosmic being, and before, like, when we manifested into this physical body, we forgot, like, we forgot the adventures of our other past lives, right? We forgot those adventures, but that knowledge is still within us, right? So when we begin to, when I say the depths of our being, when we begin to travel to the depths of our being, it's moving and recognizing that in this physical lies a whole universe. And when we use those mindful practices to tap inward and begin to understand this universe, we can begin to receive knowledge, right? But what good is knowledge if we don't know what to do with it? So we take that understanding of self, right, and we use it to receive knowledge, and through the understanding and that foundation that we've built, we now know how to alchemize it into physical tools, into ideas, into actions that can physically add the light to the collective, right? And that's the spiel, bro. That's the tools, right? Interconnection with your ancestors and your inner child, and using mindful practices to understand self, so that as these downloads begin to happen, we know how to take the steps to use them and cultivate this new world here in the physical, right? That's the spill. I'm not gonna rant. That's like, see, because I have a tendency, I'm about to do it right now, I have a tendency to like end something and then want to keep on going. You know what I mean? So that's the spill. Take what resonates. Let me know how y'all feeling about that in the comments. Let me know how this shift has been for y'all, man. Like, see, I'm about to do it right now. I feel the need to rant, bro. I'm trying to tell you. But no, seriously though, y'all tap in with me in the comments. Let me know how y'all feeling. I know we all feeling this. It's the unknown. It can be kind of comfortable, but I'm speaking from experience. It's like when we just give that subtle reminder, okay, like I'm in this unknown, right? I understand we're going through a shift collectively. Like I'm not alone on this, right? I can tap in with my ancestors, with my guides, with my inner child, right? And use the tools that we've cultivated to get here to help me through this, right? But it comes from an open heart. Open heart. You gotta keep the heart open. You gotta keep the heart open. I'm speaking to myself on this too, right? Because in comfortability, we want to sink, but now we gotta keep the heart open. All right, gotta keep the heart open and remember our cosmic tools. All right. So if you haven't watched part 1, go watch part 1. Stay tuned for part 3. All right, and also stay tuned tomorrow. I got a cosmic live with one of the homies. All right, I'm sending you guys nothing but peace, love and light, and just, keep tapping in. Keep tapping in. Much love to y'all. Peace to the ancestors. Peace to the inner child. Peace to the collective.